Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Certified Forgotten. Typically, we like to keep our guest episodes to our Certified Forgotten rules and regulations. We bring someone on, they talk about a horror movie they love with 10 or less critic reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and we have a jovial conversation that Matt Monagle usually says, I don't like this movie, and I do. So we're trying something a little different today because I went to Halloween Horror Nights last night in Hollywood. I know my guest went to Halloween Horror Nights because we went together with a wonderful group of friends. So I don't know. I thought it'd just be nice to talk about Halloween Horror Nights for a little bit for an episode and give you all some tips, tricks. Let us kind of dive into our expertise, having attended the event for so many years. So yeah, I'm gonna stop blubbering on, and I'm gonna say, hey, Dorina, thank you for coming back to the podcast and talking Halloween Horror Nights with me.
Hola, mijo. Hey, everybody. Happy to be here. A little hungover, not from drinking, but just the exhaustedness of the beginning of the most wonderful time of the year.
I know. I was joking last night with your horror hose co-host there, April, and we were drinking. I think we were the two that kind of went the hardest at it. But I don't feel it at Halloween Horror Nights. And like, listen, I'm also not like slugging drinks every second. You're going into mazes. There's lots of nice spaced out area, but we were moving like you're moving around so much, and you don't actually take into account how many steps and how far you're walking. So
Hmm.
it's one of those things where, like, you're constantly being active and it just keeps things flowing. Like, it's such like a this pocket of reality that almost doesn't exist. Like, I don't get drunk or anything. I just have a good time.
I mean, you two were also the only two crazy people to go up those steps because if y'all haven't been to Universal Studios in Hollywood, there's like four long escalators to go from the upper to the lower lot. And these crazies with their beers went up the stairs and not the escalator.
I mean, listen, you had to advance the workout a little bit, like me and April like to stay active, like to do all that. So, yeah, we did it. I think we counted it 760 steps because we did
And
it
we did
twice.
twice because that the Jason maze broke down or something, so we had to go back.
Well, allegedly, someone passed out in the Jason maze. That is the
Oh.
rumor of when we were in line and a few people were walking out, and we were told, yes, technical difficulties, but a few insiders who were in the maze at the time, somebody did pass out in it. So hopefully they are doing okay, and hopefully it was
Wow.
just fright related, and they got a scare from Jason that hit a little too hard, and let's hope that.
Too much kiki ma ma ma.
Too much kiki, absolutely. Well, we're talking about Halloween Horror Nights, so, I mean, let's start, let's say, at the beginning, in a way, because I have been going to Halloween Horror Nights here in Hollywood since I moved here about 5 years ago. I did Orlando one time before that, and listen, I'm not gonna lie, having done both of them, like, Orlando is where you should splurge on if you're not local. If you're picking one Halloween Horror Night to do, absolutely go to Orlando. It's the bigger one. It gets more mazes. It gets even bigger mazes for the ones that do cross over, which we'll get into a little bit later when we talk about the specific mazes. But I do want to stress, to anyone I've talked to, I go to Hollywood because I'm out here. It's perfect. It's right next door. And I've just become the de facto coverage now for my sites that I write for. But if I was ever given the opportunity again to either go myself and pay for it or cover Orlando, Orlando's the one you go to. Have you ever done Orlando over there, Dorina?
Not for horror nights. I'm very jealous because y'all, all of my friends have been, and I have not. I've been to Orlando to Universal Studios, and it is bigger, right? They have more space over there. So in general, I just like it because they have the old school stuff that they get rid of here. Like I got to ride the ET ride, right? And Men in Black and Jaws. I think some of those are actually gone now, but at least a few years ago. But I hear Horror Nights is great, mainly because probably because of the space. So they probably have a little bit more room to work with the production design, which is similar to the Vegas one that they just opened. So we got to go to that, and because it's a permanent attraction in Vegas, it's in that Area 15, and where they also have like the John Wick experience and all these other little Vegas situations. But Universal put this thing called Horror Unleashed, and they did a fantastic job. Like I haven't seen that good of a production design for all these amazing mazes like Universal Monsters. Like it was really, really fun.
Yeah, so I didn't get to go to Horror Unleashed just yet because it was a Monday opening, let's say, and I had my day job I couldn't play hooky for, unfortunately, in Vegas, but I am gonna get there eventually. What mazes did they have when you went? Because they're standing mazes, right? Like, it's not
Yeah.
like they're gonna rotate, they're gonna have the same 4 and just, like, you come in and out and do what you want.
Yeah, I mean, they have so and we were talking about this last night, you and I. They have a scarecrow one, which I know the scarecrow maze at any of the horror nights is like a pretty popular one. But then they have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so that one's pretty great because spoilers, just as you are walking into it, it's like a cemetery situation going into the house, and you see the actual beginning scroll as you're walking in. So like they really did a good job with the details, and to the point where like as soon as you walk into the house, you see one of the scenes actually being played out with my boy Leatherface grabbing that person is great. But and then they also have Universal Monsters, which was probably my favorite just because of the detail, right? Because you're literally walking into Dracula's house and Frankenstein becomes alive in front of you, right? And then what's the other one? Oh, they also have a Blumhouse kind of hang because they have like 3 bars. So one of the bars is just a Blumhouse kind of photo op room, but the other maze is Exorcist Believer. And that I have to say, Matt and I have talked about this. We are actually one of the few people that enjoyed that movie. Like a lot of people did not, and I like it more than the Halloween ones that that team did. But the maze was so creepy. And I don't know, it's because I grew up Mexican Catholic, but that maze was creepy. Like I was there with my fellow horror ho April, and I was there with and we were there with our friend Eric Goldman, and I literally told Eric, "You gotta walk in front of me." So I'd never done that.
Well, I remember when the Exorcist Believer maze came to Hollywood, and that was actually part of the main, Halloween Horror Nights, and we hadn't seen the movie yet, and we barely saw any trailers, and it was so funny because if you went through the maze, it was really creepy, and it was so good, and there was a lot of usage of the demon itself, and it was so funny because, like, the maze sold that movie in a way to me that, number 1, got me really excited, and number 2, I do like it. Like, I you are correct, Dorina. Me and you are one of the only people that actually will defend this movie, and
Right.
I really did wanna see where Gordon Green was gonna go with it in his next, chapter, but it still sold the movie in a way that the movie never was, and
Mhm.
that was a little bit of a buzzkill because the maze was so good, and
Right.
they did such good usage of the creature effects and everything else, the lighting effects. They made it honestly, the maze was scarier than the movie, but,
Right.
like, yeah, so I'm glad they brought that there, and I'm glad to hear that because they have a permanent space, they can go deeper into the production value. Like you even saying the opening scroll of Texas Chainsaw is being projected somewhere or played, and that's what you're walking through. Like that is such a cool idea and a cool visual to put in your head to be surrounded. And I think,
Mhm.
when I think about Halloween Horror Nights, like that's the feeling I want. I want to feel immersed. And I do think Orlando does the immersion a little better.
Mhm.
How Hollywood scare zones are there, but I really only think the Latin American horrors one that awaits you after that
Mhm.
maze is the only one that really drags you in. Like the clowns are
Yeah.
cool. Don't get me wrong. This year we have the Clown Brigade opening in I guess to say the front gates for us. And there's the fan favorite murder crows, the crows on stilts that love to harass our little
Shout out to your friends, at Fangoria.
I was gonna say our friends at Fangoria, who get tormented by the crows every year. And so
But you're right, the Latin American area, is so good. With the
right, because
luchadores, yeah.
you get lost in it versus the other ones that just kinda feel like, "Oh, we're here." We're kinda just here's the crows, here's the clowns. But, I mean, let's talk about Orlando sorry, let's not talk about Orlando anymore because we didn't go there.
Then you should ask somebody else to be on
Right.
this format because I didn't go to Orlando.
Let's talk about Hollywood then, because I did have a lovely time last night. It was the typical Hollywood experience where I know it is the little step sibling of, the Orlando, but it's near and dear to our hearts because that's what we have here, and we're always gonna go to it. So, first impressions, what were your thoughts about last night?
I mean, look, I got treated as a freaking, I don't even know what to call it, but we were treated like royalty yesterday. Shout out to Lindsay and the team at Universal. Just the entire staff there is lovely. And But we got to do a little like reception and the red carpet. So right out of the bat, like April and I are huge fans of Mr. Art the Clown, and I know people debate the Terrifier movies. I know Matt and a lot of my friends aren't huge fans of them. I love Art the Clown. Like I am an 80s kid that grew up loving Freddy Krueger and Chucky, and Art the Clown's up there for me right now. It's pretty crazy how that happened. I never expected like a modern, slasher to actually become that iconic for me, especially being, like the get off my lawn type of horror fan where I don't really love, the Scream reboots or the Halloween reboots or any of that stuff. And I just love Art the Clown. I think it's just David's performance, right? He's just so, so great. And he's just, I mean, growing up as a fan of the Joker and clowns in general. I'm like, this is my boy. So right out of the bat, we walk into the red carpet and Art the Clown's there, right? And so we got to like take photos with him, and then I'm texting at this time. I'm actually we have a little group text on our phones, and I call it the horror horse is what I call it on my phone. But it's basically Matt, um, and Amelia and Angel and our little group of friends that we go every year. So I was so excited, to text with them and be like, okay, where are we meeting? They're making fun of me. They're like, oh, you're still going to hang out with the peons after the red carpet and all that. So it was I just always really look forward to our group and walking the mazes together, and like you said, whether it's grabbing a beer after, being wet from one of the mazes, or it's really just the experience of walking around and waiting because somebody's in the bathroom, and then some scare actor freaks Matt out and like he wasn't expecting it, right? Or coming out of the Terrifier maze because Bridget is waiting for us because she refuses to go in there because she's so scared of art, right? So I was just really looking forward to like all those moments that happen every year, and I feel like this year we got like a lot of really good moments that way. I don't know what it was. I do feel like there's other years where some of the mazes get a little repetitive in the design. I know we've been a long time ago. One of my favorite mazes was one they did of Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't know if you got to go to that one, and it was just fantastic. Like they really recreated the scenes from the movie really, really well. And so I feel like they did that with Poltergeist this year, right? Like there was just like a lot of really, really good stuff and like good memories that I have in my brain right now that I'm thinking, oh, like I can actually, like I can actually count how many, or I cannot count how many of these moments happen. I think one of my favorites though was Bridget coming out of one of the mazes, one of the houses, and being scared by just a security guard. That was amazing.
She is our favorite little tag along, and because she is I will say she's the scaredest of the bunch, but, like, listen, Angel is right there too. It's very funny, I love the idea that the face of Fangoria is also cowering through these mazes along with Bridget right in front of me. I got some great footage of the Poltergeist end of the Poltergeist house, because number 1, I do wanna shout out Poltergeist off the bat. It is up there with one of my favorite mazes we did this year, and specifically because that repetition you talked about, I feel like Hollywood falls into it a little more than others because they reuse mazes in ways that I don't always love.
Hmm.
Like there was one, I forget which Halloween movie specifically, because they've done a few different movies through the Halloween franchise and turned them into mazes. And, I've only been going to Hollywood for 5 years about, like I said, and I've already seen the same house used once, twice, 3 times. So that's frustrating to me where it like the Michael Myers one I remember, I was walking through the same thing I did like 2 years ago and I was like, "All right, this is kind of annoying." So I was frustrated when I saw Poltergeist on the menu for us this year because I was like, I loved the first maze I went through, but I wanted something different, I wanted something new. But the Poltergeist maze they did this year felt completely revamped.
Mhm.
it didn't play the same beats that I went through on the first one. They used Poltergeist, they used the IP, but they completely reworked it in these awesome ways. And going back to where I started, at the end of the maze, there is the burial ground aspect, let's say, and you're just walking through a gallery of coffins, and you don't know if the body in the coffin looking at you is a scare actor or a just mannequin.
Yes, I got. I never get
We
got.
all got got. We all got got, but no one got more than Bridget and Angel, and that is it was the funniest thing to watch that go through. So off the bat, it was the last maze or one of the last mazes we ended up doing, but it did help us kinda end on a high note. So, yeah, I do think probably Poltergeist was up there with one of my favorite experiences that we did.
Yeah, yeah, I really love that one. I love that one a few years ago, but you're right that it's different this year for sure. So, if for those listening that go to these events that are in the area, it's totally worth it to go because you're not seeing the same thing that you've seen in the past. They did I think that and Terrifier were my favorite mazes. I always love Monstros too. I don't like we can talk about our favorites, but Monsters is just always so fun and, obviously, I'm biased because my people. But yeah, I Poltergeist was probably the only one. I rarely get scared. I'm dead inside, so I never jump, right? Like, I'm like Daria when I watch horror movies, right? So, it's always great when one of the scare actors actually gets me. I the one time I feel like I get got once every year, and then I'll tell the scare actor, "Good job, you did it."
I remember you did that in the Monstros maze last year. I forget what it was, or maybe no, it was on the way out, and there was this like skeleton creature looking at you, going like, "I'll have your soul," and you looked at him dead in the face. You're like, "I don't got one," and like he just didn't know how to react, and he just looked at you like, "Oh, okay, like my bad."
I know. Well, because sometimes there is this thing that these characters go up to women a lot, right? And so, they just assume that they get scared, and I'm like so I feel bad because they're doing their job, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, you're not gonna get anything from me." So I'm just being straight up honest, you know? So there was some guy, one of the I forget what he was, he looked like some, like, creepy shaman, when we were at the, um, Latin American Scare Zone. And he came up to us, remember, with, like, a staff and a bond, he was
Yep.
trying to, like, also get my soul and hex me, and I don't know what he was doing, he was trying to, like, grab my hair, and I'm like, "I don't got one, it's gone. You gotta go after one of these guys."
I have that all in video. I gotta send that to you later so you can use that clip.
It's so fun, though. They really do a good job, and I do have to shout out, every single scare actor that was performing as Art the Clown was great. They really like, that must have been such a fun job, but you have to have so much energy the whole time, so they really did a great job.
That was I've never really gotten scared by a scare actor before, and an art got me real
You got
bad.
that last night, you totally did.
Yeah, and you all stood there, you saw the art coming up behind me, and we were just in our little group kinda, like, having our little chatty chat, and all of a sudden, like, because they have those rattles, like the can filled with, like,
Mhm.
coins or whatever it is, so it's not just a scare actor stamping at you to make a loud noise, like, I had this art in my face in an instant, rattling this thing super abrasively, and I was just like, I jumped, I did, like, that's never happened to me before.
I'm right between you and Amelia, right? Because
Yeah.
you both jumped in front of me, it was wonderful. I rarely see you guys jump.
So again, like it's good if we're getting got. But I mean, let's talk about the Terrifier maze very quickly because obviously that is one of the most popular ones. Art the Clown is walking around the entire premises. Ice Nine Kills has their Art the Clown song as literally the opening anthem when Horror Night starts. So Terrifier is of the moment, and Hollywood's maze. For those who follow Halloween Horror Nights, all the news was the Terrifier maze is going to be the wettest, bloodiest, craziest maze you've ever seen. And it turns out Orlando has that version and we don't. So Orlando has the version where you can pick the wet or dry route, as they call it. And if you go through the wet, it was supposed to like a car wash of just water, not real blood. You're getting sprayed with water, but still we didn't have that. We didn't have the selection again. Hollywood always has minimal means versus Orlando that goes above and beyond. So, for those wondering, the Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood version of Terrifier is not the super wet one. You're gonna get a little wet. I will say I enjoyed the maze, and it is because of Art the Clown, and it's because it was a fun walkthrough. It's not just one of those mazes that'll throw some nondescript, like, whatever's at you. Here's a jump scare. Here's a jump scare. Or it's not one of those gallery exhibits where I feel like last year Texas Chainsaw wasn't really a scare house. No one was scaring you. You just
Mhm,
walked through recreations of the scenes.
mhm.
The Terrifier house to me felt like the perfect usage of the Art the Clown lore that has been established, and also, like you said, letting the characters have so much fun.
Yeah.
That's the part, like, Art's allowed to have a personality. He doesn't talk, but there's so much emotion conveyed through his ar like, his face and all that stuff and his gestures. So, we get the Christmas elements, we get the true crime elements, we get the art murderous, like, it turns into a meta maze where you're walking through the back production areas, like, in the
Right.
maze still, but, like, it's set up as back production, and Art the Clown scare actors are getting murdered by the real Art. So they
Yeah.
found a really cool way to do it, in my opinion. And I will say I got drenched at one point, and even the scare actor laughed at me
Oh,
because
really?
there was an Art in one scene. Art is table sawing a woman in half, and just as I walked into the room, the table saw was being pushed forward, and there's a squirt gun at the end of it, like, that you can't see. So literally, I've got my phone out just to record. Like, I record the mazes so I can look back later as a note for when I'm writing.
Mhm.
And so I walk into this room, and the squirt hits me directly between the eyes in the face, and just like the scare actor just pointed at me and was just like started laughing, and I was like, God damn it. Yep, yep, you nailed me with it.
You got by art. But yeah, you're totally right. I love that they actually created a meta story for the maze and you get to like celebrate the movies whether you like them or not, right? I'm a fan of number 3. It's my favorite Christmas movie right now. But they really did a good job. I also love that they played that little song at the end. It's a terrifying.
Oh yeah.
So good.
Yep.
It's so good. April and I were in heaven. We love that clown.
So let's jump to Monstros because I think we might have the same top three, if I'm being honest with you. Every year, Monstros is in my top. That's just
Yes.
been so good. Whether, they're in the Kukui, like La Llorona, like they have so much to pull from. And I think once again, this year they did a great job. La Llorona is always a staple. We're going to get that over and over again. Um, but I defer to you for the other two stories in this because again, you are the expert here. I am not the Latin American horror guy. I just know as much as I get from movies, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, it really is so fun. For specifically for La Llorona, I love that they just go hard every year, and they always put like the kids drowning. So like it's which is why that maze is the most messed up usually out of all the other ones. Because you guys know La Llorona, but the other ones, at least the Mexican ones, I know there's some, I think Colombian ones and possibly other um, Latin American countries, but the ones I know that are Mexican. And actually also Spanish and Portuguese, some of them. But El Cucuy, which is basically your guys' version of the boogeyman, right? And then La Ciguanaba, which is also Central America, not just Mexico. For those that you don't know, Mexico is actually in North America. A lot of people think it's South America because they think anything up south of the US is South America. But anyways, um, but yeah, La Ciguanaba is basically this spirit that is a hot girl, right? Like a very attractive like woman with long hair, and that men see from behind, and then she lures these men, um, and but before revealing her face, right? Or she basically lures these men, and then she reveals her face. And she's like a horse or skull, like it's something super messed up. And so that's kind of what I love about that maze is that you're seeing all these weird creatures, right? It's not your typical famous monster from a franchise movie like a Jason or an Art, right? And so you're seeing these like actual like cool looking creatures with like a horse, but it's not just a horse. It's like actually like the creepy like skull with teeth of a horse, right? And you're also seeing like even the my favorite part of that maze is when the big creature is eating the kids in the bed. Like that's probably one of the most jarring things visually if you are a person that gets like that gets got very frequently, and it's the whole bed is entirely filled with blood, right? And it's just really really gory, and I love that. And they go hard with like how big these creatures are, right? Like they do a really good job because some of them are scare actors, but some of them are animatronics. And I love that, like, because it makes me feel like a kid at Disneyland, right? Like, I love seeing animatronic, especially with so much, no shade to VFX. Like, VFX are great, and there's so many talented CG artists, but there is something to be said about practicality and like looking at things that are, you know, actually tangible.
Yeah, and it's very funny to hear that just different regions have takes on the same story because the other creature, let's say, in the maze is La Muelona. And
Right.
you're like, "Oh, I need to research that. Oh, it's Colombian. I don't really know it off the top of my head." But it's so funny that La Muelona is basically La Llorona. Like it's the same kind of story, just told in a different region, given a different spin in a way. And
Right, like, I think she's got, like, her teeth that are that always come out, and instead of crying about her kids because she drowned them, I'm like, "Why?" "Well, you're crying because you killed your kids, and you shouldn't have killed them," right? Like, that's what we learned as kids. But I think the Colombian version is she's, always going after, like, alcoholics and unfaithful men, but also because, of the same type of thing, where, like, she won't go after a man that has a family, right? Like she just goes specifically after men that are not cool. So I kind of like that. That's fun.
so we approve. So it's good.
I think that's fun. I think La Muelona gets a pass, in my opinion.
So let's talk a few others because there's a lot of high profile in this. Actually, like looking through, it's not just Poltergeist. I mean, Blumhouse Terror Tram. Every year, the Terror Tram for me is like saying throwaway is a little mean, but it's always towards the bottom of my list. It's the thing you do just to do it. And this year, it's Blumhouse yet again. But I was happy because it wasn't just the new stuff, like, it wasn't just Black Phone 2, which was really fun to see because it's a lot of snowy things, and we had the Grabber ice skating, we had the Grabber doing all these things from the new movie that, again, we haven't seen yet, so it's a little bit of that Exorcist effect where I'm walking and getting a taste of what to expect, so I was excited on that. We also had some Insidious thrown in, which I wasn't expecting. The Purge is always a part of it, but Terror Tram's Terror Tram, so you know what you're getting every time with that. How'd you feel about Five Nights?
I know nothing about Five Nights. I know, shout out to my patrons because some of them are younger, so they told me about it. Like they grew up loving it, I guess. They played the game and then they watched the movies. I have friends that worked on the movies. I haven't even seen them, so I guess I should. But the maze was actually so fun, even not knowing about it. It felt just like being at Chuck E. Cheese, but creepy, So I really enjoyed it. They got Romantics playing. I forget what 80s song was blasting. I really enjoyed that. It wasn't scary. It was just, again, going back to the animatronics, giant, cool animatronics that look like, made you feel like you're a kid at Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, and that was kind of what I walked away with it too. Speaking of mazes that feel like the museum in a way where you're walking through and going, "Oh, cool, like this is I know the fandom, I know this, I know that." Man, the big Freddy, the big all the characters being the Fazbear family and like standing next to it, and you're walking by, they can't touch you, you can't do all these things, but the light just booms on Foxy, and you're kind of, oh shit, this is so cool, like Foxy's actually coming at me down the hallway with the blinking light. So I was really impressed with that, and I was really impressed, in the same way I was impressed by A Quiet Place last year, having the Death Angel, like the giant monster just looking at you, was so cool. So I was fine with it. You're right. Freddy's was not scary at all. But as someone who is outside the fandom but still knows enough of it and knows enough people who like it, I was into it. I think really quickly we'll go a few minutes over 30 of our usual rules, but because there's still Jason,
Right.
it was a fun maze. It was a fun maze that felt like a stroll through nostalgia because you get every Jason in there, every version, whether he's the drowning kid or towards the end, we got the baghead, we got whatever type you want to call.
Yeah. But, I feel like maybe that's what I noticed this year, that they just did a better job than the last couple years with the story of each maze. Because they even tried to bring in, like, Camp Crystal Lake live stream storyline to this maze. Not a spoiler, as soon as you walk in, you see what they're doing, right? So I thought that that was cool too, because obviously with the Jason franchise, no shade. Like people, I know I have friends that love it. I'm not into it as much as a Nightmare on Elm Street or Scream or some other ones. But I was actually like interested in following along to like the different, like you were saying, the different movies, and they did a good job too. Yeah, it wasn't just like that again, that repetitive thing of just having Jason in the same mask and the same costume every time, just pop out and like do a jump scare.
The live stream element was really fun because it gives me the idea of, well, are they testing things for new movies? Like, in a way,
Right.
or
Totally, because then I was like, "Did I miss a movie where this happened? Or is this gonna be," or maybe it's, the upcoming franchise situation that's happening.
that's what I'm like, a
Yeah.
little testing ground there, which I
Yeah.
really liked.
I think that was the maze. I always love when they have, a scare actor that looks like part of a chair because it's like a headless person, and then almost got in there as well because one of those headless man or woman who was under the chair got me because like, you think it's just a what is it called? A rag doll or whatever, like, it's nothing or a dummy, and then they start moving, but they don't have a head, so you're like, "Hey,
What are you
what you
doing?
doing over there?"
Little reanimator action there.
Exactly, yeah.
And then, quickly, Fallout didn't do much for me. I'm not gonna lie. The show is I'm still catching up with, so I don't have a huge affinity for it. And I'm sure walking through the vaults and seeing the action there and the ghouls and whatnot, it was exciting for some, but it was, you know, it was just kind of going through.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard. I think I actually immediately spoke with Amelia about this at the end. She just said, "It's hard with video games," which is it's so true, right? It is hard. Maybe that specific, video game, like, I'm not sure how much you can do. The actual set quality within each room was cool, but the scare actors themselves, they're playing the character, so the only really cool looking one is Mr., Walton Goggins, right? But
Right.
everyone else is just like a human. So when a human looking scare actor comes at you, they're usually not scary.
Yeah, and I bouncing right off of that, I go to the Scarecrow maze, which had music by Mr. Slash himself this year, which is so
Right.
cool. Slash always contributes music to Horror Nights, but he picked the Scarecrow maze, I guess, this year, and it was so cool to have his rock soundtrack over the very rural, very Americana Scarecrow maze and being hunted by these evil scarecrows, and we even got the murder crows at the end. And I Hollywood always does really well with the originals, and almost every year an original is my favorite. And I now that I talk about Scarecrow, I probably would put that in up towards the top of the list. And it's strange because we didn't have a Universal Monsters one. Usually every year we have a Universal Monsters maze. But it was nice to see the Scarecrow maze come back and again evolve the storytelling. And this is, I think, the third time I've seen this harvest storyline keep going, let's say, of the evil farmland.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. I also love the you did get to see them with me, right? The actual slash crow actors on stilts just outside where like the slash bar was. I love that. That was actually a really cool idea cuz some of the really food like cool food design, they had all, they had those like cool Art the Clown sunflower glasses, right? But they did also have a little slash hat which I thought was awesome. So yeah, that slash hat, man, that is branding for you for decades.
And listen, I don't always love Universal's food. I'm not gonna lie. It's not Disney. I've had some very not great meals at Universal, but I think those lemon cookies that you're talking about, the sunglasses, that are they're lemon cookies filled with raspberry kind of filling. They're fucking amazing. That I think that might have been the best thing I've ever had at Horror Nights.
Yeah, it was really good, and I don't love sweet stuff. It was very sweet, but, I really, really like those. Those were kinda delicious. I recommend if you're there.
All right, and we're wrapping up, and we're gonna do the horrors of the Wyatt Six of the last one. And for those who don't know, it is a maze dedicated to the late Bray Wyatt, a WWE wrestler, and it was just really cool to see Universal and WWE collaborate and bring his legacy to life because it was such a good gimmick. And I like, listen, I'm an AEW guy over WWE, but the Wyatt Six family, like that was the horror gimmick in wrestling. Like that's obviously the Undertaker is the OG, but Bray kind of filled in those footsteps. And you're guided through by the Fireflies, and you're guided through the story of Uncle Howdy and collecting his misfits. And you know for those who know the storyline, you get call outs to Lexi Bliss's character. Like they incorporated so much. There's a Finn Balor t-shirt somewhere in there, so just beautiful allusions to everything WWE's done with horror. Um and, and I mean, you don't know anything. We talked about this right after the maze. You don't have a WWE kind of bone in your body there.
I mean, I
So
did when I was a kid. I was telling because I as soon as we got out of the maze, I knew, exactly specifically both Matt and Amelia. I was like, "Can I interview you guys for this?" Because they're both my huge wrestling fans. But I was telling them I have not seen wrestling since Andre the Giant died, right? I was like an 80s kid watching, all of those guys like Roddy Piper, Hulk Hogan, right? So I know nothing of modern wrestling, and I still enjoyed the maze. Like, I thought it was, the actual design, of, Wyatt was really cool. Like, I don't even know what he is supposed to look like, but I enjoyed it a lot.
yeah, there's some fiendish versions towards the end that are definitely there, and Uncle Howdy is the one with the light guiding us, so he's the one that was kind of popping out a lot earlier and collecting again the outcasts to
Oh,
bring
okay.
together. But
I
yeah,
love
and
that because 'cause I'm like wait, as soon as you said Uncle Howdy, I'm like, "You mean Captain Howdy? Because 'Cause I'm thinking
right,
Pazuzu, you know?
there were definitely some borrowed terminology.
Oh,
let's let's just say it that way. But no, so I do think overall, it was a really good Halloween Horror Nights for Hollywood. I think this is one of the better years I've gone to. I'm very happy with the way everything went. And like you said, Orlando is always going to have bigger and better. And I can say one of the things that was mentioned to me in the Bray Wyatt maze was in the Orlando where they had more space. There was a whole area and a few rooms where it felt like you were going backstage at a WWE event. And that was part of the story of,
oh,
like, I
wow.
guess the evil escaping. So that's what we're missing in Hollywood. And
Yeah.
I do, again, one more time, I can't stress this enough. If this is your money, if this is your choice, and you have to fly anyway to get there, I really say go to Orlando. But I was really happy with Hollywood this year. And, I don't want to put down Hollywood by saying that because I have a great time every year. They put out for us, they let us go, have our fun. And listen, I'm going to go back probably this year still. I'm going to
I've
go again
been
because I
thinking
love it.
about it. Yeah, totally. I go once every year. We're, grateful that we get invited, but I am with you. I think the last few years um were maybe not as creative as I have hoped because there's been years previously, like again, oh, we got a thing. There's been years previously where again, Nightmare on Elm Street was amazing, Poltergeist, and I really feel like they brought their game back this year. And I might just go back to hang out in a scare zone with Art the Clown.
Yeah, I'm going to go to that Latin American scare zone. I already know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to chill there.
It's a beautiful, safe space for goths.
That literally is. And you can just grab a beer, walk around, and people watch. Like, you don't even have to go in the mazes if you don't want to.
Right. And I should also add not just goths, but also emos like Matt.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I was never goth. I was only emo. I never had my eyeliner face.
Well, it's never too late.
Well, it is too late for this episode, though. It won't be now. It might be later. But Dorina, thank you. We're going to wrap this up so we can both get on our days. And can you please tell the people where they can follow you?
Yeah, I am at DJ Bruja in Spanish with a J in all of the socials and the YouTubes. And I got a little new horror brand with my fellow horror hoe, April. So we're the horror hoes everywhere as well. And join my Patreon. We're having fun over there talking movies and music. But yeah, thanks for having me, Matt. Always fun.
Absolutely. It is a pleasure to have you. We love doing that. And yeah, for me, Monocle usually does the plugs, so I will quickly say you're already listening to Certified Forgotten, so thank you for doing that. If you want to give us a like and a share, that is always appreciated. But we also have a website, Certified Forgotten, the website, .com and all that stuff, where we write about more than just horror movies with 10 or less critic reviews. We try to spotlight the little ones, but also just get really into good writing, and that's all we do. So if you want to support our website, please become a subscriber, join the tiers, and we'll welcome you as part of our little family. No Uncle Howdy. It is safe, don't worry. But for that, we're going to leave you and we're going to say goodbye.